Welcome to the birdhouse. Y'all come on in. Pull up a chair. I'll make you a cup of coffee, and you can keep me company while I make us some supper. I had to shorten this video, so I'm just going to tell you what I used and exactly what I did. I used a large Ziploc bag, and I put some cornmeal and Tony Chachere's Cajun seasoning in this. This is just going to be a simple cornmeal batter. I do use Martha White buttermilk self-rising cornmeal mix. That's what I use in my household, and that's what I'm using here. So altogether I added about 2 cups of that cornmeal mix and about maybe a tablespoon of Tony Chachere's Cajun seasoning. I know that sounds like a lot, but this is the no salt Cajun seasoning. Then I put my fish in the bag, and I am using flounder that I buy at Walmart. Just a little FYI, you can buy a huge bag of that flounder at Walmart for around $11 to $12, and that bag will make about 3 meals for my husband and me. I do use canola oil when I fry. I always use canola oil. Now, don't give me grief over using canola oil. I'm a Southern girl, and that's what we fry with. And we don't fry a lot of food other than cornbread, and that's usually in the wintertime. So contrary to what people believe, not all Southern people fry food every day, y'all. Okay, but back to the recipe. I'm going to drop my fish in there. I've got my oil good and hot. You don't want to put your fish in there until it is hot. You can test that by dropping a little piece of cornmeal in there. And your temperature is going to be about on a medium, but you're going to bump it up sometimes and bump it down a little sometimes. You have to keep your oil at a certain temperature when you're frying food. You will fry this about 3 minutes on each side. It doesn't take long to fry fish. And the fork is my weapon of choice. When I'm frying fish, I just use that fork and just flip it over. Now let's switch gears for a moment. I'm going to make some hush puppies. I multitask in the kitchen. While my fish is frying, I'm going to dice up an onion. So I've got about a half of a yellow onion here that I'm dicing. And by the way, that drives my husband crazy. He's not a multitasker. He just gets in there and he just makes it look like he's a chef. But I'm all over that kitchen, y'all. Okay, so now I've got just a small bowl. I added 1 cup of my Martha White buttermilk self-rising cornmeal mix to the bowl. Add half a cup of White Lily self-rising flour. And then we are going to add that half of a yellow onion that we diced to this mix. Now you want to dice your onion as fine as you can get it so that it's not chunky when you bite into your hush puppy. Now we're going to add some milk, and I'm just using 2% milk. And I'm going to guess, y'all, and I'm going to say that I added anywhere from a half a cup to 2/3 cup of milk to this. You want a certain consistency. You want it to where you can actually roll it into a ball. But we are going to let this sit a moment while I finish up my fish, so it is going to thicken. That cornmeal swells when you mix it up. And if you're making cornbread, sometimes you have to add more milk to it. But I'm just making hush puppies using the same oil. I've got my oil hot again, and I'm just going to roll these in my hand and drop them in the skillet. Be careful with this. And I like to keep my hands wet. It's just so much easier to roll them into a ball. And just be really careful and don't let that grease pop on you. Now, this is just how I do it. You may have an easier way of doing it, but this is just how I make hush puppies. If you deep fry them, they come out really pretty and round, but because I'm using my cast iron skillet, they're not going to be perfectly round, but I am using my spatula and moving them around to give them a little bit more shape so that they are a little bit more round and like a hush puppy. You could, and I have, fried these into a patty just like you would fried cornbread. These hush puppies take anywhere from maybe 7 to 12 minutes or so, depending on the temp on your stove, but I've got mine on a medium, and they will actually start popping open. And that time depends too on how brown you want them, and I like them really crispy. You can see me over there in the corner moving my fish off of the paper towel and taking up that paper towel, and then I will spread my fish out, and that just makes it just that much more pleasant looking when you serve it. Back to our hush puppies. Now you may need to add more canola oil to this, and that's fine. You want to keep at least an inch to maybe an inch and a half of oil in your skillet while you're frying. Once my hush puppies are done, I just put them on another plate with a paper towel, just like I did my fish, to soak up some of that oil. Then I made another batch of these hush puppies, and by the way, you can freeze these for your next fish fry. Or you can use your leftover hush puppies with a pot of soup. They're so good with soups. Always, always, when you're through frying, turn that stovetop eye or your burner off and move that skillet aside. And again, I'm just going to take that paper towel out from under those hush puppies so that it looks much more pleasant on the plate. And voila, y'all, dinner is ready to be served. And y'all, this is so good. My husband and I don't eat out a lot, so we fry our fish at home. Sometimes we'll throw French fries in the air fryer and make some coleslaw. And sometimes we just make a good old pot of pinto beans. This was so delicious. I hope you enjoyed your visit with me, and y'all be good.